We're going to record. Good morning, everyone. I'm Suzanne Taylor King, and we are here for day 2 of the prosperity planning system. I am just going to say hello and good morning to Lisa, Mike, Ida, Nolan, and Tony. The recording and the 2 worksheets from yesterday are in the members area. So I posted the recording as a YouTube video if you'd like to catch parts of that. And for anybody who missed the live. Also, I made a worksheet for creating your core identity. You can print that out, or you can just view it in the members area. You can view it, or there's a PDF download for you to print and work on your core identity. And just to recap, if anyone has questions on creating that core identity, Mike and I spoke earlier today and he had some questions. I'm going to share all of those self-coaching questions for each of those 4 areas to help you go a little bit deeper. I'll share those today, and I'll also email them to you. That way you have them for future. So if you find one of those areas is slipping in your life, you can ask those self-coaching questions. How's that sound?
Great.
Good. Okay, today, part of planning for prosperity and moving forward with hope is your own self-image, but it's also the self-awareness piece. So that's where we're going today, into the self-awareness piece. And let me just look for my worksheet, my notes. Self-awareness equals self-discipline. When you have awareness over how you sabotage or how you avoid or how you procrastinate or how you're a perfectionist, when you have that awareness, you can more thoroughly move into action. You can also move more thoroughly into planning and self-discipline. All planning, good morning, Casey. All planning for your business involves self-discipline. You actually have to do more than just say you're going to do it. You can't lie to yourself and say, oh, I'm going to plan for my business and then not do it. That's the self-awareness piece. Where am I actually sabotaging? What am I doing? For me, I'm not a perfectionist. Done is always better than perfect. But I could be a hyperachiever, which means nothing's ever good enough unless I win the gold medal. Unless I'm the best, I don't want to play. That's been a self motto since I was a kid. I didn't want to play Monopoly or life unless I was going to win. And that really came back and showed its face when I became an entrepreneur. I don't want to play unless I'm the best. I don't want to play unless I win. So knowing yourself on that level, if anyone's interested in taking the self-sabotage assessment, I will gladly send that over to everyone so you can kind of see how it shows up for you. I'm a master avoider as well. I know a couple other people on this call that I would stamp as avoider. You have to do something, but I'll do it tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes type of thing. So today I'm going to ask you some questions, and we're going to really do tangible activities today. So I hope you're up for that. The first one, and this is one of my favorite activities to do, is the appreciation technique. Now, this appreciation technique you can put into play for yourself or for team or for an accountability partner. And what you're going to do is take 2 minutes and self-appreciate. Self-appreciate. Make a list of all the freaking awesome things that you have done this week, this month, this year, and maybe even in your lifetime. Those of you who know me pretty well know that my son is adopted after a 5-year fertility journey. And that is an accomplishment that I will be forever grateful for. 1, because I was open to it. 2, because we did it. And 2, how I handled it afterwards, how I talk about adoption, how I talk about adoption to prospective adoptive parents at the agency that we adopted him from. I love that accomplishment about me. So I'm going to give you a minute or two and write a list of self-appreciation. And feel free to unmute, share, ask questions.
I like the one I just wrote down, revitalization. It feels like I kind of like reinvigorated myself. I knew where I wanted to be, and I could see that I was following negative patterns and have found my way to come alive again.
What do you think helped with that?
The other 2 I wrote down were observation and comprehension. Those are some things that I've definitely improved at. I was able to observe myself and see like when I'm slipping into these negative thought patterns, and then also recognizing them for what they are and being able to push through them and, you know, find the actual truth in what I'm thinking about myself.
I like that. Now, what accomplishments, and I'll pick on you because I know your accomplishments in the last couple months. You had a couple negative things happen, but you literally handled them with such drive to move forward and change and do something different.
Yeah, I mean, part of working for a startup company is you see what's necessary to run a business. And when a lot of the suggestions that you think are valid and aren't being utilized, that kind of ignites a fire in you to like, well, if you think you're right, just do it. And then so that's what I did. I did the research, what it would take, how I was going to do the filing, had a game plan, and then just did it. And that part to me is what I think opened a lot of doors for me, and ended up getting a really good job in the process. So now then they're not upset that I started a business. They're happy with me working on both, because it kind of goes hand in hand with what they're trying to do as well, is just teach people how to run businesses, how to develop their own small business. So if I can do it for myself, I can clearly have a game plan and show others how to do it.
Exactly. And I think remembering that is so important. That's part of this exercise. And the second phase of self-appreciation is appreciating someone else. So your homework today is to appreciate someone else officially, to send a thank you email or pick up the phone and call someone who has done something wonderful for you, or who you noticed making a really cool accomplishment. Call them and acknowledge that accomplishment, or email them. Hey, I noticed your post on LinkedIn where you were on so-and-so's podcast and you talked about X, Y, and Z. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for talking about that. Thanks for being you. TFBY, my son's favorite. What are they called? An acronym? An acronym? Thanks for being you. So who is that person for you? What immediately came to mind? Don't take more than 90 seconds to think about it. Who immediately comes to mind, and who do you want to send that email to today, or pick up the phone and call today? Maybe it's a family member you haven't talked to in a long time. I'll put it in the chat. Email or call and acknowledge someone else.
Can I share mine?
Yes, absolutely.
So I've really been, Suzanne knows this, I don't know who else knows this. Lisa might have heard me say this, but so I'm really in a transition phase. My accomplishment, sorry, it's just gonna be an emotional day. I raised 2 children. I became a mom at 18, 19, raised 2 children by myself for 28 years while working full time, having no support really, no financial help, financial disaster everywhere. So of course my worth comes in believing I have none. And I finished my degree while working full time and raising 2 children online. It took 15 years. I got 2 bachelor's degrees. And then I became an empty nester, and it's like, who am I? What do I want? I believe when I started with Suzanne, it was really about this non-toxic product company, which I love. It changed my life, but there's more about what my journey is than selling a product. It's about sharing the ability to release the toxins that live inside of you. And the person that I have to thank for sticking by me and really seeing in me the things I can never see in myself, and looking at me and saying, well, when is that going to change? When are you going to stop telling yourself that story? And that's Suzanne. And I don't know if I could have made it through the last year without her, or the last 5 years, but truly, like, there's people that come into your life, and I hear you guys sharing. I feel like I'm so far behind in my enlightenment and knowing what I'm supposed to be doing. But the truth is, I was given my purpose years before my healing started. And I just have to get back to what that true purpose is, and not caring if I have all the certifications that I need to have right now to be able to do that. I pour myself into my day job because that's where the paycheck comes from. And at some point, that's not enough, because I didn't go through this life of perseverance and tenacity, and there's moments where I feel within me that power, and it's time to step into it. And you said this morning, while I was getting ready to come on here, that you got to stop talking about it. At some point, you got to stop lying to yourself and saying, I'm going to do this for me. I can't tell you how many times I will drop everything for 100 other people, including strangers. But for me, I won't give myself 10 minutes. And I'm grateful that I have this time slot open, because I need this week. I may not be able to write my ideal day when you guys are doing it. And I may not be able to respond with all of the answers to the questions you're asking, but because I got to dig a little deeper, it just means that once I get it out, it's never going to go back to that.
Yeah.
Hesitation again. It's almost like I feel like once I pass that, that wall that's been holding me back, there's no looking back.
Well, first I want to say thank you. That's so amazing that you feel that way about me, because I feel that way about you. And that wasn't planned. That was totally, and I want to acknowledge that we all have something that holds us back at times. We're human. We're all humans sitting here. And your ideal day will never be done being created. I believe that's a work in progress forever. It's something that you're always growing towards, just like your core identity, just like this self-awareness that we're doing today. But when you do it, and you do this self-awareness, and you do the core identity, and then the self-awareness, well, tomorrow we're going to talk about how to plan your year in your business and your quarters and your days. And what happens when you have the core identity made and the self-awareness made? What do I actually want out of this life and business that I am creating? Then you can move forward with the plan and not hold yourself back from the plan, because you've put those other things into place first. And that's the piece that most people skip. Most people are not willing to do the introspection needed to have a core identity, to have the self-awareness and the self-discipline in place to actually do a plan, say the plan, and actually make the plan happen. Okay. So after acknowledging someone else today, we're going to go through some other questions, and this can be super interactive if you're feeling called. The first question, and there's no right or wrong answers. This is not a test. This is not something that you should feel like you have to compare yourself to other people's answers. This is literally, if you want to share, fine. If not, keep it to yourself. Don't take more than 90 seconds to answer these questions. By allowing quick answers, we tap into what your subconscious actually says rather than your overthinking, logical, linear brain. All right, so first question. What do you want to experience in this lifetime? Think about your love life, your relationships, your sexuality, your business, your friendships. What do you want to experience? And let's take any, I don't have the money, I don't know how I would do it. Take all of that out and just say what you want to experience. And it could be, where do you want to travel to? What kind of home do you want to live in? And you might find through this that some business goals come to mind, some financial goals come to mind. But really focus on those happy and joyful things. Okay, that's about 90 seconds. Who wants to share? And when you look at those things that you want to experience, are they tangible, like climbing Mount Everest? Or are they more feeling, like I want to experience peace, joy, contentment, fulfillment, satisfaction, connection. Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome, Tony. Go ahead, Mike.
I'm attending a funeral this afternoon of someone who I don't know well, but he had the ability to connect immediately. It turns out he's a titan of the industry.
Wow.
And what I think draws me to this funeral is not because of his title, it's because of who he was. His ability to tune out and just tune in to me and make me feel that I'm seen and heard. And his life, just in reflection, is the kind of model that I hope that I have with others. So Norris Little is his name, and this will be a celebration this afternoon of a life well lived.
It's really beautiful. I think we could take a little piece of that and actually say, it's called the Eulogy Exercise. What would you want? You know, you're a guest at your own funeral, and this is a perfect time to reflect on that. Mike, since you have one to go to today, what would you want people to be saying about you? Who would you want to be there? And what would you want them to say? And that's a perfect, that feeling that you would want is not a Ferrari. Oh, Mike had a nice car. You're not going to care if somebody says that. They're not going to talk about the house that you lived in. They're going to talk about the person that you are. And that's an experience, living like that person. And your business can allow you to be that person. All right, next question. How do you want to grow? How do you want to grow? Spiritually, emotionally, financially? What does that look like? What skills would you like to obtain? I've always wanted to learn another language, yet I've never done it.
That's a great one.
Yeah. I've always wanted to do that. It's just never made it to the calendar. But it's a definite skill I'd like to learn.
It's one of those skills, if you don't use it, you lose it, though.
I know. So
I've learned 2 languages and I
yeah,
can only say je m'appelle Tony and
I can
no
ask for
habla
the fish
español.
in France, but that's about it.
See, one of my goals is just to become conversational at a restaurant, and so I can do that in most languages. At least like wherever restaurant I'm going, I can get the basics down.
Well,
That's
that's
amazing.
something I noticed with travel. I have been to Italy 6 or 7 times, and I don't know how to speak Italian, but I can order coffee, ask for the bathroom, ask for directions. I can rent a car. I can navigate being in that country. But how amazing would it be to be able to speak the language really well?
I feel like that's it's almost like a relationship thing. If you need to deepen a relationship, you need to have those deeper conversations.
Yeah.
And if there's really no reason to tap into those aspects of language, you know, it's really hard to study something like that. But if you fall in love with someone who speaks Mandarin, and that's important, you can learn Mandarin incredibly quick. It's amazing what your brain can do when it's like, I need this to satisfy this need.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's definitely, that's one of the character strengths or traits of people that I admire. They typically can speak another language, or they can navigate conversations with somebody in another country much better than me. One of the other things I wrote down, how to deal with stressful events or situations in my life. Had one of them last night, and I literally, I could have chosen to yell, or when something stressful happens, I want to choose showing up calm and centered and saying, no, I'm sorry, that just doesn't work for me. So how do you want to show up in stressful situations in your life? How do you want to show up in joyful situations in your life? What about your health and fitness goals? If that wellness or well-being category was big for you, what are some of those wellness goals? What skills do you need to learn? Fat burning exercises? How to eat for your fitness goals? Maybe there's something you need to learn and grow in.
So you're saying
And
45 minutes on the treadmill and then my oatmeal cream pie kind of canceled each other out.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't see why
Yeah.
it has to, but I guess that makes sense.
Well, listen, there are plenty of people who will exercise to combat their unhealthy eating habits. Plenty. And it works for them. They stay at their goal weight but you're not reaping the mental benefits of exercise. You're exercising to burn off your cheeseburger or your pie. And that's not the same as exercising for your health mentally.
I
So
was
I'll challenge you on
exercising
that
for my challenge 90.
Yeah, I'm doing that challenge too. So we'll have to
Are
talk
you?
about that. Yeah. Okay, last question. How do you want to contribute? Now, contributing to society, to your family, to your clients, to your customers, how do you want to contribute? This affects your planning more than any of the other questions. Yes. How do you want to grow? Personal growth has to go in the calendar. And you see where I'm going with these questions, right? These are things that have to go in the calendar, things that have to be planned for, and contributing is something very important to me. So what does that look like for you? Where do you want to contribute? Do you want to volunteer somewhere? Do you want to pick a nonprofit to volunteer? I wrote down friends, family, society, city, or even the entire planet. Is there a bigger message with your company that is contributing to the planet? Whatever you believe about global warming or society or your city, doesn't matter. How do you want to give back to it? Because giving back, whether it's at your church or synagogue, or whether it's at your business, or whether it's at your kid's school, that giving back and volunteering your time, your energy, or your money, and that drops us into your legacy. How do you want to be remembered by those you leave behind? What do you want people to say about your business? What do you want people to say about your networking, about your friendship? How do you want to contribute to those people? Yes, it will be a worksheet as well. And let me go over those 3 questions again in case you want to jot them down for future journaling. These can be questions that you reflect on every day as well. What do you want to experience today? How do I want to grow today? And how will I contribute today? 3 great questions to start your day off. Even if you don't write them down, what do I want to experience today? How do I want to grow? And how will I contribute? All right, how does that feel? Thank you,
What was
Tony.
the third one? I was trying to write them, but I type way fast.
How do I want to contribute? Thank you.
I should just do this because it helps me save the chat.
Yep, that's what I do. At the end, I always save the chat as well.
Yes.
I think there's an option you can automatically make it do that.
I think mine does. I think I automatically save all Zoom chats that I'm in that allow you to.
Yeah.
I'm picky and choosy.
Well, you know what I noticed? So, warning for those of you who send private messages to people in networking events, don't say anything inappropriate, or because when somebody saves the chat, it saves all those private direct messages.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it
I
does.
think the host definitely gets
For the
all the-
host.
Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
host gets them. So-
Yeah, no, not so when we I always worry about that because we have to do reports
Yeah.
when I do events, and I'm always worried about, like, sometimes I'll get a message from somebody telling me that, like, the speaker is terrible and how do we have this person here? And I'm the only one who sees that, and I get to clean up the chat. I don't think that everyone gets that. I think,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
participants.
Maybe because I'm the
do not.
host of so many
Yeah.
meetings, I see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you're talking between each other about the host, then
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're going to talk about me, do it
You should-
outside
You,
of this
huh?
meeting, right? Okay.
Oh my goodness.
So I want to leave you today with the insight that growth is the ultimate goal. A coach I had for 3 years, Brian Johnson, said to me that it's really about being 1% better than yesterday. Each day is a little bit better and a little bit closer to creating that ultimate day, that masterpiece day, that day where your core identity meets your self-image, meets your self-discipline, and meets your planning goals. Wow. Well, wouldn't
So-
that be amazing?
Say that again.
I don't know if I can say it again. Totally organic here.
I didn't type it. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's recorded.
That's
Your
right.
masterpiece day is where your core identity matches your self-image, matches your self-discipline, and matches those goals that you set for yourself. And every day you get a little bit better because it's just practice. That's all we're here to do, is just practice and grow. A little bit better than yesterday, a little bit better than yesterday, a little bit better than yesterday. And if you make growth the ultimate goal, I wrote down this quote in my notes. I don't know who said this quote. Grow so fast that your friends who haven't seen you in a while, or who haven't seen you in a month, have to get to know you all over again. make such strides in your personal and professional growth that people don't recognize you. That's kind of cool. Ooh, I love when someone asks me, what have you been doing? What? Oh, how did you do that? Well, that means they're noticing change and growth in you. And I wrote a little paragraph this morning after my meditation to share with you. And this is kind of one of those motivational things I do. Your soul isn't here to achieve another task or another thing. Your soul is here to grow. Most people get this wrong. We become seduced by success and broken by failure. We add great meaning to what is essentially meaningless. The true reality is that success and failure are just illusions and definitions. The only thing that matters is how fast you are evolving. Your journey is about removing the barriers that hold you back from self-actualization and autonomy.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
What caught my ear was the part about how what matters is how fast you are growing.
Mhm.
I don't grow fast. But I don't understand. To me, that for me personally, I take that where I am today as a judgmental thing.
Okay. Say more about that. Why does that feel judgmental?
Because if it feels like there is an expectation of the speed and the pace at which a person grows by that phrase within the sentence.
Mhm.
And this world a lot of times rewards fast, quicker.
Mm.
The implies than others, then you could be doing, then you could whatever.
Okay.
Pace, speed doesn't equate to quality.
Absolutely.
And I guess this is a thought that's new, so I'll stop there because I don't really know where else to go, but right now.
Okay. Can I coach you a little bit on that?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I know Lisa very well, and I would argue that you have grown in the last 8 months that I've known you, leaps and bounds in your knowledge, in your self-awareness. This is what I see. I see someone who's made accomplishments with her emotional intelligence, her connection to what her mission and her values are. And you're learning technology too, all at the same time. You're doing all of that. So what about that doesn't feel like you're advancing? It's at your own pace, but you're growing.
Okay, but for me, the word comes up is that I'm growing slowly. And
So
that could be.
Is that your own self-doubt or
that might be that. I was just going to say that again, that's putting judgment on the speed.
Mhm.
Can I
because
support
I'm
you there,
seeing-
Lisa?
What?
Can I support you there a little bit?
Yes.
It's a limiting belief I have in myself. And limiting beliefs are huge, like barriers to that. It's you hear a word and that's the thing that, because you feel it within yourself, like, oh, quicker or fast, or, those are things that I'm not doing. And in reality, we don't see our own growth the way someone else might.
Mm.
So
I
having,
was the same way with the word expert for many years.
yes,
I hated that word
yeah,
because I'm like, to me, an expert is perfect.
yeah.
Mm,
And so it took a long time to say, okay, you can be an expert and not be perfect.
And you could be an expert and not be at your best. You just have to be, Suzanne always says, you just have to be a little bit ahead of those you're working with. You know, the
Yeah.
people that you're trying to support, you just have to know where they are and be beyond that.
yeah. It doesn't matter if you're 5 minutes ahead of your clients or 50 minutes or 50 years.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Mhm.
So from what I described about Lisa, does it seem like she's accomplished some incredible things in the past 8 months?
Absolutely.
Just in the last 8 months, you've done all that. That's a
Mhm.
lot. That's a
Mhm.
lot.
I've done a lot of
Would you consider it fast? Who would
Yeah,
consider
I
it
would.
fast?
I would.
Some people don't go a lifetime doing that, so
Right.
8 months is,
Ah,
8 months is pretty good.
yeah.
If I told you what I was doing the last 8 months, I have like a snail's pace.
Well, I think that especially with technology, Suzanne and everybody, I feel that there is so much more that I don't know, that I just know so little.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? And that's
Yeah.
kind of daunting for me to.
I have
if
clients though that can't get on a Zoom call.
Yeah, I have customers that get on Zoom monthly that every month cannot get on Zoom. So, and the thing I'll say about that is think about what you do know and how far you've gotten
Mhm.
as that knowledge of technology comes. And the fact that you can do what you're doing without all of that, it's,
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Technology is not always better.
no, I wish I could get rid of it sometimes.
Sometimes
All right. I'll let myself have a compliment from the group. Thank you.
That's growth.
That is.
That's growth.
Leaps and bounds.
And one of my favorite people in the whole world, David George Brooke, he's a member of the Idea Lab community. And he'll be so thrilled when he watches this recording that I'm talking about him. He calls himself the gratitude guy. And one of the things that he's taught me in the short time that I've known him, our very first call with each other, we were on Zoom, and he said, "Do you have an index card handy?" And I said, "Yeah, I love office supplies." Got the index card. And he said, "Now we're going to take 1 minute and I want you to write down everything you like about me. And I'm going to write down everything that I admire and like about you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So we did it. And 4 days later, I got an index card in the mail from him. And it was the card he wrote about me. And I was like, holy crap. Here's this person I just met. I was on his podcast. We connected through a podcast network, and he sees me like this. Wow. Wow. So I would love for you to do that activity with someone else in your life, whether it's virtual or whether it's, in person. Pick someone and write down those qualities that you see in them. And I experienced this one time in the coaching program that Casey and I met in 9 years ago, 10 years ago. I don't know how long ago it was, where we all sat around a table, and I think there was only 15 or 20 of us that went on the retreat at the end of the coaching program. And each person gave one word that described the other people. So when it was my turn, everybody at the table said one word that described what they thought of me. And I wrote down the words, and they're in a frame on my desk. And whenever I start to feel a little bit inadequate or a little bit of imposter syndrome or whatever you want to call it, I look at this, and this is what 20 people said I brought to the table. And it was super powerful. So I invite you to create that for yourself. And if you need some help cultivating the people, or you need some help matching up with another person to do that with, let me know and I'll facilitate that for you. Now I want to open the floor for questions about self-discipline, self-awareness, all the things we talked about today. Any insights, any questions? And do you see where we're going for planning? Do you see the path? If you have questions on that, let me know. We're good? Everybody looks like a deer in the headlights.
I feel like a deer in the headlights. I feel like, first of all, this is all, every time I meet with you, it's like, it's almost like all this information is floating in the air around me, and I don't know how to like get it in. It's almost like it feels so out of my reach. I know it's a lie, but
it's so right there.
I know.
And I think it's about remembering to ask yourself these things.
Yeah.
And yeah, the information's all floating around up there, and it's up to us to, like, I fully believe ideas are floating, up there. And if you grab one, if you don't take action on it, it just goes to somebody else.
Yeah, I just got this image of like, they're there for you for the taking. And it's almost like faith, like, I'm a Christian, and my faith is that like salvation is there, but it's up to me to take the action. I can't just expect, to sit there and be rescued. Like, you have to take a step. And so it's like, if you take that thing and just focus on that one thing, it's almost the fear of success that, what's going to happen if you actually do well with that, So, but being able to go back and redo this and at my pace, which is how I learn, will be amazing.
And again, it's about remembering that you have these tools. And, sometimes when we sit down to plan for our business or we plan our daily calendar, we don't take these things into consideration. Who am I being? What do I want? How am I growing? How am I contributing? We don't take that into our planning of our business. And I remember not doing it for my business and those weeks that I worked 50, 60, 70 hours, but my family values were to make dinner and do homework and be with my family at nighttime, but I wasn't doing that. So that alignment piece of who are you being and who are you saying you're being? Who are you teaching your clients to be? And you're not doing it? Shame on you, Suzanne. Go ahead, Lisa.
All right. So I have a thing just came to a memory just came to me. My dad and me and my siblings had a rocky relationship. As he got older, it was evident that he was cleaning things up, but he still would slide back. But now I understand that. So I don't have I had more compassion for him about that. And he would now and then come out with these jewels, these gems. And about a year, he's been dead for, well, we did the memorial last fall. And when he was able to, the last time he came up to visit from Florida, I'm in Massachusetts, everyone. And so I was telling him, oh, I've been thinking about doing this for a while on the farm, and I've been thinking about doing it. And he said, well, why just think about doing it? Why aren't you doing it? And for my dad that sounds ordinary. It's very ordinary sentiment. But for my dad, for me to know that he heard me and made that appropriate, timely comment, not only helped me with just doing it, but it really helped our relationship, because it was, I don't think it was a conscious attempt to connect, but he was able to feel comfortable enough with me to give something.
Yeah. You felt heard and seen.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe comfortable enough in himself to do that behavior, not even realizing
Yeah.
that it was happening, but to have healed himself some, because he was tormented, I know, in his lifetime. So the softening allowed him not only to think it, but to actually say it.
Yeah.
Which was tremendous in the healing for both of us.
Yeah.
But
Amazing.
at that moment, I didn't think about it, but pondering through life and my relationship with him, I'm now allowing those better moments to come through versus throwing them away, saying, yeah, but he was a really asshole, and that does negate how awful he was.
Yeah.
But now at least I'm neutralizing.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Does that,
Yes.
I know I was trying to respond to Tony, but I don't know if I know I went way off track.
No, it's part of your self-awareness that, who somebody is in the end is more important than who they were in the beginning, because he grew.
Yeah.
I love that. Thanks for sharing, Lisa.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or insights before we wrap up today?